people might come in, but as you can guess, today is Dr. Seuss's birthday, March 2nd, which is why I'm wearing the hat. And we do have a lot of activities that our librarian, Ms. Chappelle Brown, has coordinated for today, which is excellent. It's all in the library, and then some of them are going to be taking place in here as well after our meeting. So the mayor already read to our students this morning. I'm going to be reading to students at 10 this morning. And we have an author coming in later who will be in here. And she wrote a book, I forget the title, but it's on Cesar Chavez. So we're very lucky that we get to have different people coming in today to read to our students and talk about their work. So with that, again, thank you for being here. I'm Miss Gavin, your principal. And we always start our coffee with the principal with a little quick activity just to get all of us warmed up. Because I know it's cold and we sometimes have to stand up and talk to each other so we can warm up. So I'm going to ask you to find a partner, but not someone sitting next to you. That's too easy. So not the person sitting next to you. It has to be somebody else. So you will have to stand up, go find somebody else, and let's do that first right now. Go find somebody else and then I'll tell you what question you're going to discuss.
How's it going?
So find somebody different, not in your row. Someone different, not in your row. And once I see everyone paired up, two. She needs a partner. Does someone raise your hand if you don't have a partner?
Great English.
Raise your hand if you don't have a partner.
Good, yeah.
2 and 2. Perfect.
That was in like grade.
Okay.
Find somebody that speaks English because my Spanish is very good.
Ms. Martinez is helping everyone partner up. Good. Okay, here's what I want you to discuss. And especially on these cold days, we start dreaming about where we'd like to be. So what I want you to do is think about your dream vacation. What would be your dream vacation? If you could go anywhere in the world and think about who you want there with you, and maybe you don't want anyone there with you because that is your actual dream vacation, and that's okay. That's okay. Remember, this is safe. No judgment. You want to leave your kids at home? That's okay. So think about your dream vacation, and the person with the longest hair, you're going to go first. So whoever has the longest hair, you're going to go first. And I'll give you a minute or two to describe to your partner what is your dream vacation. And when I say stop, then you'll switch partners. Then the other person will talk. Okay? Go.
Alright, well, my dream vacation. I don't like really so it doesn't have places where there's no snow and so ideally with fire with my kids it's that's where I'm comfortable. Museums and culture and stuff. And I would do it with like my 5 best friends. So we could just rent a place together and just hang out there. Beach, be mellow and enjoy like food and drinks and then go out and enjoy the sun. But it doesn't have to be any specific place. I just want to be with the like small group of people that I really like. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead and wrap it up and now switch. If you haven't switched already, the next person describe your dream vacation.
Get off the grid.
No. That's a good goal. That's attainable. Yeah. That's good. Would you want to hop around top of the island? Yeah. In a perfect world. With all the money, I would hop around to every island. Yeah, it's really. Yeah, 2 weeks is probably. You get it? Well, see, you don't, because I'm the city. I'm like, I need to be able to get out. Yeah.
How much else?
That's a good. I do like nature too. It's not my favorite. If I'm in a cabin, a really nice cabin, I'm okay with that. But I don't want to be in the sticks and no.
Okay, if you can wrap it up, and once you do, go ahead and go back to your seats. Okay, so yes, if we can all go back to our seats. Great. Did anyone hear, you don't have to share it, but did anyone hear a really nice vacation, dream vacation story that you thought, oh, maybe I want to go on that vacation? Yes? Yes? Okay. Yes, all right. To where? India. Ooh, nice. By yourselves. I told you that's okay. Sometimes that is the dream vacation, right? By myself. Because how often are you by yourself in your life, right? A lot of times you're around a lot of people. Good. Okay, so hopefully we're in that state of mind, our dream vacation right now, on this little cold day. Although we are very spoiled in San Diego because it's not as cold as it is in most areas of the country. We're still okay. So with that, we're going to go ahead and go on to the next item on our agenda. Like I said, we usually try to get presenters from our campus, our own staff that come in and talk about the different programs that we have available for your children. And of course, later on in the hour, there will be an opportunity to ask questions about anything you may have concerns about or doubts. We can certainly clarify that. So I would like to introduce the coordinators of our after-school program. Our after-school program has grown in the last few years. It's actually been really great. And the reason why a lot more students want to come into this program after school is because we have a lot of great activities that are new and innovative that are brought into the program. And I want to commend the following two people that I'm going to introduce because they have done a great job in not only promoting the different activities, but what's even more important is that they sit down and listen to students because students are our customers. They tell us what they would like, and then these two people make it happen. So I'd like to introduce Brandon Rogers and Ms. Rachel Griggs Hoppings.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for being here. So we're going to just go over a couple of topics regarding the after school, as she said. So many of you don't know, or if you do know, so the whole brand of the after school program is the Red Devils After Hours. But I work under ARC through the Sweetwater district, so that's why if you ever hear your students say, hey, I've been going to the ARC after school program or anything like that, or you see me on campus with a big blue shirt on, that's usually kind of out of the nature of the school, but so in the after-school program, it's myself and Miss Griggs working, but we also have two other staff members, and we're waiting on the third one to come in a few weeks, hopefully. The first one is Miss Daniela. She helps a lot of the students with math tutoring, whether that's algebra, with pre-cal, with statistics. Right now she's almost graduating from UCSD with her degree in economics, so she is also helping the students with economics here. But she pretty much tutors the broad scope of things, English, history, and so forth. Right now, she's also helping students kind of get involved and understand the different pathways to college. So whether that's through a trade school or whether that's through a community college and then transferring into a four-year, and the different routes that they can get there. The next one is Miss Perez, Miss Christina Perez. She was in previous helping with the daily news, and if you've ever checked out our YouTube page, the Red Devils After Hour, or Red Devils Review on YouTube, we have a daily news segment that the students direct, produce, film, and edit. It's all their work. So it's really awesome to see how much time they put in, and they usually spend about 3 hours every day making it. So it's a really great product at the end. She's also working on a lot of art projects with the students right now, helping to decorate the room for the different holidays. She made this really nice mural, or this backdrop for taking photos for Valentine's Day. And right now she's working on one for March. Communication-wise, we do have a monthly newsletter. It was up front, so if you didn't get one on the way in, please, I suggest you grab one on the way out. It does have a lot of great information. It has my information, my email, so if you ever want to contact me and say, hey, my student has said they wanted to get involved, what are some offerings that you have, and I can get all that information for you. You can even watch, like I said, the daily news. Go to the YouTube channel. It's really accessible and easy. You just have to search up Red Devils Review. You could type in the date, and it will all pop up right there.
Also on the school webpage, there's a link to after-school programs as well, and usually the monthly newsletter is attached on the school website as well, so you can access it there. My email is also through the school, so it's on the webpage as well. But any of these things, I really like, personally, I like following our after-school program on Instagram because there's pictures of what the kids are doing all the time. So when they go on hikes or when they do stuff, I like to see the pictures of stuff that's happening, especially for the things that I don't get to go to. So that's the one that I follow. But you can follow any of those if you have any of those platforms that you have an account for, because we post things that we do periodically.
Yeah, like this Saturday, we're actually going to...
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow, yeah. Tomorrow, we're going to Campo to actually do another 7-mile stint of the Pacific Crest Trail, which is a trail that runs from the U.S.-Mexico border all the way up to the U.S.-Canadian border. We're only doing the Southern California stints, but maybe one day. As we talked about, we do a ton of different things. As you can see up here, it's a giant collage of craziness, all the fun that we have. We bought pumpkins, real pumpkins for 29 of the students, and it was kind of, whoever came in wanted to carve a pumpkin, they got to carve their own pumpkin. The cool part was it was their first time carving a pumpkin. They'd never even opened a pumpkin, so a lot of them were kind of surprised how weird it is to carve an actual pumpkin and have to hollow it out. We have a skate club, we do cooking club, we've done vegan cooking club in the past. We also do our own stuff where either I or one of the staff will teach a recipe. We do different events, like Lights On is an awareness for the after-school program, and that, hey, we leave the lights on after school for these students, so there's a safe space for them to come and hang out and grow and become themselves. In the lower right, that's our leadership circle after one of our events. So we have a coordinator come through from ARC that teaches different leadership skills and team building skills, and then after that week, they usually go on a trip. So whether that's going snorkeling or hiking or mountain biking, there's a ton of different opportunities for the students to get involved. Yeah, that's it.
The main thing for both of us is we always encourage students to come talk to us about any sort of program or activity that they're interested in, because if we can help them through our funding, we do. So kids come to us all the time with the craziest of ideas. Like, we just had kids the other day that want to paint a room and design this crazy mandala in the middle of the Infernal Lounge, and we were like, okay, let's make it happen. So if they come to us with any of the things that they're passionate about, we do our best to provide funding for them to help them get it done. So if your students are interested, you can send them our way. Infernal Lounge is in the middle of campus, or email, or any of those avenues. And questions are going to be later, is that what I'm
No,
understanding?
if you have any questions about the program
Okay.
now, you can ask those questions.
What are the hours?
We're open Monday through Friday from 2:38 to 5:38. If it's a minimum day, we open at 12:30, right when we get out lunch, and then we usually close up around 4 o'clock, 4:30 to start doing the end of the week close up.
And in days like that, are they required to be there the whole week?
No, they are treated, we
Yeah,
treat,
different from the middle school.
yeah, it's a little different from the elementary and middle school side where it's like 6 to 6. They're kind of treated more as an adult, so they can come, get some of the activities, and then if they have to get picked up only 30 minutes later, they can get picked up 30 minutes later. If they need to get picked up 4 hours later, they can get picked up at the end of the program. Yeah, there's no time limit that they have to spend. Yeah.
Son de 9 a 2.
Is it what?
De los grados de 9 a 2.
See, so the question is, do we serve all 9 through 12 grades?
Yes,
I got
9 through
that.
12.
I got that. I know that much Spanish from being here.
Will you offer the homework help?
Yes.
Because
mean, we always describe our after-school life as organized chaos because on any given day, we could be doing anything. Like sometimes we go on Fridays, we're cooking, we're carving pumpkin, we're doing everything, and then there's other days, like on a Tuesday, where we have a bunch of kids coming in. Different kids are working on different homework. Me or Daniela are there for a lot of math tutoring. Brandon does a lot of the chemistry, I throw that his way. And then of course kids also form study groups. So a lot of, like I know there's also like AP, some of my AP students who are in AP Calculus, they will sometimes tutor some of the other kids with their math for community service hours. So it's kind of all over the place. Like sometimes it's one-on-one tutoring if kids need one-on-one tutoring. Sometimes it's kids in groups studying in rooms. It's very, on any given day, it could be anything. It's whatever the kids come in with that they need that day. So we just try to really have them come to us. So if they need help, it's make sure you find me, make sure you find Daniela and ask us what do you need, or if you need chemistry help, bring Brendan over, or whoever it is that needs to help you.
And then the one thing that I realized I didn't have any photos on. We do college trips and college tours and all the different kind of things like that, college awareness. So over spring break, we're taking 30 students from here all the way up to Santa Barbara. And they're visiting a bunch of different colleges in between. 6 colleges. And they range, so we try to hit a couple of UCs, a couple of CSUs, and then a couple of privates, so they kind of get a wide variety of views.
So that is going to be open, or you already have the students to go?
That one we already have the students for now.
We currently do, yeah, because it's 2 weeks away. But we always, we're trying to do, for local college tours, we try to do one like every month, so the kids are going to like all the local ones, because those are more one-day trips. So we just had kids on Tuesday go to San Marcos and come back. We have Point Loma on the 9th of March, and then there's also a couple community college ones coming in April. So those are all still open. The spring break one, we have the 30 students currently, but then we try to do them over the breaks because they're overnight trips. So there's usually one in the fall during the fall break and one in the spring for spring break.
So these, especially for Santa Barbara, is only for the students who already go after school and you already
Nope.
have. So how the students know about this spring trip? How do you already have the 30 students? Do you open to all the students? Or
Well, usually we target students.
repeat the question.
Okay. You want me to repeat it? Yeah. Okay, so the question is, how do we open field trips to students who aren't actually coming to the after-school program? So usually what we do is we try to tell it to our kids first, because they're the ones that we're serving on a daily basis. But I usually target students, so I go to the Avid classrooms for kids who are like trying to, already taking steps towards going to college. So for this particular trip, I went to 9th and 10th and 11th grade Avid rooms. I didn't include seniors on this trip just because they've already applied to colleges. So it's kind of like late in the game for them. So I was trying to get more of the younger ones. I get GPAs. I try to pick from the top kids that are college bound. But that I also realized that I don't want to restrict it to those kids. So we're very strategic about like trying to make sure that if we're picking juniors, they're juniors who are already meeting college requirements. But if we're picking like freshmen and sophomores, they could have maybe a little bit lower of a GPA, and maybe this trip will like inspire them to do better, right? So, but we start with Avid, and we start with those types of things, and then with those kids, if we still have spaces, then we more share it out to like other groups for anybody that wants to do it, right? So it kind of, I try to start with the kids who are already taking steps and then try to move out, if that makes sense. Does that answer the question?
That's what I want to hear.
Oh,
Because I already some points low, but maybe not all the time.
yeah.
So I was, I like that they open for these kind of students who already go
Right.
to the time back. Also,
Yeah.
to can inspire the other
Yes.
students
Yeah.
who are in 9th, 10th grade, and they can do, how do you say, more of them.
Right. If you see my spreadsheet for the kids that are going on this trip, you would be it's a little bit crazy. Like I pay very close attention to GPAs, the types of students I'm picking to make sure they match our populations, so that I'm not just picking from like the top students and it doesn't match the type of populations we have on campus. I do all of that, so I'm very strategic. But yeah, I try to start with that group, but I also don't want to leave out kids who want to go on a trip and maybe want to go to college and maybe this is the thing that changes their mind. So good, I'm glad I could make that point for you. Yes, yes, it's for everybody. Yes. Yes, exactly. Yes. And for the one-day trips, those we open up to everybody right off the bat because those are a lot more local. They're not an overnight trip, so I basically just pay for a bus and kids get to go tour the campus. So for those types of trips, I send an email out to all staff. I put posters up for kids, and those kids just come to the Infernal Lounge, and any kid that wants to go on that trip, as long as they bring back the permission slip, are allowed to go tour all the local universities. So.
And sometimes I think that you put it on the Twitter, because
Sometimes, yeah.
I see the email that you send, and I go, okay, quickly go to Infernal Lounge if you want to go, because sometimes
I can make sure that we try to do that more for like the more local trips. I can send it out on Jupiter Grades if parents are looking at that.
Also like on your page or.
Yeah, or we could shout it out on Instagram or
Be aware of
something.
it.
Yeah, we could do that. I see you, I see you.
Hi, I just want to say, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for letting us know this. Parents like me that their kids are not being involved in the school, and they have the impression that the Infernal Lounge is just a gathering place to chat and have fun, but it looks like
Well, it's that too.
Yeah, and you don't know that they can have fun and do something at the same time. But what would be your advice as in regards to our parents like that we have no kids involved, they're on the go-home club, and they just don't want to do anything else? What would be your advice to us as parents?
So the question was, what would be the advice for you to give your students to make them want to come here more often and get involved in the after school and get more involved? I would say, tell them to just come and see me at lunch. I love having conversations and finding out the passions of the students here, because then I can like, hey, I really enjoy that too. And like, even if it's something that I've never dealt in, I take my time, and if they say, yeah, I really like this, I'll take my time, I'll go learn about the subject, and then I make it so it's a great program, and that it's something that they feel that it's there, they feel ownership of it, and it's also something that they can feel like, hey, this is my space, I'm cool here now, like I feel good getting involved here. So it's always something that we work to make it inclusive to everyone, but it's also something that grows people's passions.
Yeah, I would say also a lot of times people think, I say this for teachers too, who I try to get involved in after school programs, that for whatever reason, if you're gonna be involved in after school, you have to be here Monday through Friday from 2:30 to 5:30. And that is not the case. We have those kids that are here Monday through Friday for 3 hours a day.
I really like it.
But yeah, but you could just pick one day. Like start with one day and one activity. Go find one activity. We have Mr. Kobian who does the drones after school. So they're working on building drones after school. They have the robotics. We have on tomorrow actually, the kids that were working on the underwater robotics are going to the underwater robotics competition. So there's a bunch of different things, and it doesn't mean that you have to come to the Infernal Lounge necessarily. We're like the hub, right? But we have branches that are all over the place. So there are kids doing folklorico, art, sewing, all these things that are in other classrooms. That's not necessarily in the Infernal Lounge. So if it's something where they're like, I don't want to go to the Infernal Lounge, there's other options in other teachers' rooms once a week or twice a week that you could just go one day for a couple hours, and maybe that's how you get involved. You don't have to put in 30 hours a week, right? I think that's what people always think is, I'm involved because I'm always here, versus I can be involved one day and that's my passion, and that's okay too.
Well, that explains a lot.
And then even in the Infernal Lounge, we do offer some things that are just once a day, like the Korean Pop Club. They love Korean pop music. They come in on Thursdays, they learn about different Korean pop groups, they listen to some music. They also kind of try to learn some Korean language, and they stay for a couple hours, and then they go home. And that's the day I see them. That's the day, yeah. So.
Yeah, and a lot of it's very organic too. Like, we recently have a group of kids that's meeting with one of our custodians, and they hang out in a room near the Infernal Lounge, and they just jam on guitars and drums. Like, they just practice playing, like, and it's just like a handful. It started with 3, and now it's 6, and it's slowly growing because they're like, oh, I want to jam on a guitar for a few hours, and so it just sort of happens. And so now with those groups of kids, they're telling me like, oh, we want an electric guitar, and oh, we want a set of drums, and I'm like, okay, hold on. So, but we're trying to support it. It's sort of, if you come and there's something you like to do and you get people doing it, we'll help you to do it.
I think so, because in the first year when I come here, when I hear AfterSchool Program, I was thinking like I never heard it.
Yeah.
And it has to be,
Yeah, you have to be there.
And in all the hours, and not even have only one day. So sometimes we as parents think about that, because I was there, I was thinking, oh no, every day is
Yeah, no. Not that kind of commitment.
Yes, so it's a very good idea that you come with Savvy to write you and you expect one, because each topic we are a different parents, and you can share everything when you have them, they don't have to stay every day and all that kind of stuff. So it's a great idea.
Thank you. Whoops.
I usually start at this time, so sorry.
Oh, that's your alarm.
Yeah, that's my clock and alarm.
That's your alarm to say, get to work.
Any other questions?
Oh, what is that?
Yeah.
The kids will have fun in Santa Barbara because I'm from Santa Barbara.
I went to school in Santa Barbara, so. Gaucho, yay.
The kids, so the statement was the kids will have fun in Santa Barbara. Over the fall break, we sent them on a similar trip to a couple different colleges, and they came back, and ARC runs the whole process. We hire them as like a kind of independent contractor to run it, and they use like the vans and so forth. And the kids came back, and they rated us the highest that any of the ARC programs have ever gotten out of all of San Diego and all of LA. And we've been around for 17 years. So the kids had a blast at the college trip, and they always learn a lot, they gain a lot, and they kind of get a little experience of that independence that they're gonna have in just a couple of years.
No more? More? All right.
Thank you again for your time and hearing us out, and hope to see all of your students get involved if they're not already.
Yep.
Okay, ooh, now I see more parents have come in, that's great. So hopefully we're all walking away with more information, more knowledge about our after-school program. And one of the things I was thinking about as I was hearing everyone ask questions, make comments, is that what we can do is, before you leave today, if you're interested in stopping by after school one of these days, and we'll pick a date. So we'll pick a date where I could gather all the parents, and then we walk over to the Infernal Lounge and maybe some of the other activities that are happening on campus. Because I'm a visual learner, you know, someone can explain it to me, but when I go see it for myself, I learn better and I see what students are doing. And maybe once you see what the students are doing, you could describe it better to your children at home. So what we'll do is, probably maybe right after spring break, because we only have 2 weeks of school left before spring break, and we'll coordinate with Brandon, our after-school program, and with Alma. So if you're interested, you know, leave your name before you leave today, and we'll make sure we contact you, or we'll put it out there. If there are any parents that want to come in, you know, it'll be sometime in April, we'll go in and just walk around so you can see what the students are doing. So we'll put that in the books. We'll coordinate that. Okay, next, we have one of our counselors, Mr. Marco Garcia, who's here to talk to us, give us an update about what's going on in the counseling center and how they're serving our students.
Good morning. Buenos dias. The after-school program really is a great program. I just wanted to throw that in there. I walk over there and the kids are doing great things in there. They're cooking, they're doing the newscast that we do, and homework and fun things. And a parent really hit on it real good over here when she said that they're having fun, they're chatting, they're socializing, but at the same time they're gaining skills, right? So that's an awesome thing that happens after school. So real quick, in the counseling center, this is what we're doing, that they should be taking, that's required, and then they get to choose electives. That's where they can choose Spanish, they can choose any class from our CTE pathway courses, our academy courses, they can choose band, whatever it is they want to do. ROTC is a big one, so they can choose those. And then what happens is we rip this off and they take this home. So every parent, it doesn't matter what grade they're going into, every parent should receive this form. Students should bring this form back, and you guys can review that with them. The ones that are usually circled or checked are the classes that they will be taking next year, okay? So you guys look at this, you guys talk about it. This isn't set in stone, so if there's a change, you guys talk about, you know what, you chose English 11, but I really want you to be challenged. I want you to take AP English Lang next year. You didn't choose it when you were with your counselor, but you know what? We can make the change here. So feel free to scribble on this, write me a note. You can write it on the back, sign it, and return it. They return it to the counseling center, and then we see these again. Any change that you guys made here as a family, when you guys spoke, then we will make that change in the system, okay? So every student should be bringing one of these home. That's what we're doing pre-registration. With that, we talk about summer school. So the summer will be here before you know it. Yes?
One quick question.
Yes.
You mentioned that the form requires a signature from parents.
Yes.
Is this changed from the one that or is
You sign it anyways. Yeah. And all that tells us is that the student took the form home and you looked at the classes and you know more or less what they will be taking next year. So even if there is no changes, we still have you guys sign it. Okay, thank you. So in that conversation, I talked about summer school. Summer will be here before you know it. So there is a lot of students, unfortunately, that have maybe failed a class, maybe have gotten a D in a required class, and they're not going to be A through G eligible when it is that they do graduate and they want to apply to universities. So that's what summer school is for. We will be having summer school here this year. In this process, when we do meet with them to choose their classes for next year, we are giving them this as well. We're talking about summer school, and if they do need summer school and they agree to it, we give them the form, we circle the class that they need to take in the summer, and they take this home, and you need to do your part as well on this. So that is summer school and pre-registration. Progress reports came out, yes?
Los estudiantes que vienen al 9, ellos ya pueden tomar clases de AP o hasta qué grado, porque mi hijo ya está en el 12 y él dice que hasta en el 10, porque le permitieron tomar las clases de AP.
Okay, the question was, my student will be a 9th grader next year. Is he allowed to take any AP course? The answer is yes. So as a 9th grader, you're very limited in the AP courses you can take. So as you climb in grade, the AP options become more, right? But as a 9th grader, to answer the question, yes, you can take an AP course. The AP courses that a 9th grader may potentially take is AP Human Geography. So it's an AP Geography class. Or they can take the college prep geography class. But they can take an AP geography class, human geography, and there's some students, not many, but there's some students that opt to take an AP Spanish class, if they want to. So for 9th graders, it's very limited, but those are the two.
Sí, porque mi hija la que va a venir al 9, sí le dieron esa de español.
Okay. Good. Okay. So yes, to answer the question, yes, a 9th grader is able to choose an AP class if he wants. Progress reports came out last Friday. Was it last Friday or 2 Fridays? Last Friday, right? So progress reports came out last Friday, so be sure we're on top of that. We do have a progress report scheduled throughout the semesters. We just want you guys to be informed of how your students are doing. I believe the progress reports are only visible on Jupiter grades, or are they actually being mailed home? Because I know sometimes we have, okay, so is the semester report card. Okay, so the progress reports are visible on Jupiter grades, so be sure you're signing into that, and you're keeping up to date with grades, progress reports, attendance, And if you want to contact a teacher, you could do it through there. If you don't have access to Jupiter Grades, or you would like to have access to Jupiter Grades, and you're not sure how to do that, come in and see one of the counselors, and we can help you with that as well. And anything else? Parent workshops. So as you guys know, the counselors are giving a parent workshop series. We had one last week. I believe I was the one that gave that workshop. So we have another one coming up March 13th or 14th. March 14th on Wednesday, March 14th. So that parent workshop is coming up. It's here in our counseling center. We welcome all parents to come and take part in those parent workshops. We give real good information that's real helpful. Yeah, so we do welcome everybody to come to those. And I believe that is everything that I have. That's what's going on in the counseling center at this point. Feel free to come by and visit anytime you guys want. Check in with Miss Marty at the front. If we are there, if we're available, for the most part, we'll see you. If we're not, we'll go ahead and make an appointment. But anytime you guys want, come down and talk to us. If there's any questions, concerns, any issues, we are there to help you guys. Any questions? Yes?
You said that, you know, the classes, the 8th class for the 9th graders, but
Yes.
what about once they hit like 10th grade? Are there more options, or is it still just very?
Every grade, as you climb in grades, the options become more and more and more. So yes, in 10th grade, you're going to have the AP World History option. In 10th grade, you're still going to have the options with the AP Spanishes, if they want to take those. There's been a few students that can opt for the AP Psychology class, but for AP Psychology, we prefer to wait for the 11th and 12th grade, but there's really no guideline. So as they climb in grade, and then when you get to the 11th grade, then for the first time, you have an AP English option. You have your,
11th grade though.
yeah, so,
Because I was wondering, as a counselor, how do you select those students? Because I know the students can't just pick, I want this. They go up into you guys, and you guys with them figure out what they want. So
we
how do you
do it together.
recommend, you should be a student that takes an AP class.
So we do it together, but they do pick. Actually, they do pick. So the AP courses are open access. So if a student wants an AP course, we cannot deny it.
No, but I'm saying like the student, what if the student tries to defer from it because maybe the student doesn't want a hard class? As a counselor, how do are you open to always?
So what happens is, for example, let's take a subject. So let's take math, or let's take English. So what'll happen is the current year teacher will make a recommendation for the next year. This student has gotten A's and B's in English 10. I recommend this student, but remember, it's a recommendation. I recommend this student to take AP English Lang in the 11th grade. And we'll see that, because we get these recommendation lists as counselors. So when the student comes in and sits in front of me, and I have that form, and we're filling out the form, we will ask, you want AP English Lang, or you want English 11? At that point, the student makes the choice. If I see they were recommended for AP English Lang, I'll let them know. Your teacher feels that you should challenge yourself. You got a real good grade in AP in English 10. Would you like to take AP English Lang next year? So that's the extent of us kind of, if you want to say, selling it, because we can't really push it on the student. Ultimately, it's the student's choice, but there is a recommendation piece to answer your question. Yes. Any other question? AP, pre-reg, summer school? Yes.
Okay, so my son, he's gonna be doing summer school. What? You wanna watch me? Sorry. My son is gonna be doing summer school. So how does that work out for us? Because he didn't fail the class, but it was pretty low grade, so he wants to try to make up for it, maybe bring the grade up a little bit.
Okay.
So what if there's math classes?
So he needs to see his counselors. So what we're doing, like I said, the summer school right now is being taken care of as all the students are trickling in through the pre-reg process. So that's kind of where we're doing that. If for some reason it was missed, and I can see that happening, because we have so many students coming in, if he hasn't been assigned summer school and he feels he wants to take summer school for a grade that he knows he either failed or got a D, have him go and see his counselor.
Okay.
And his counselor will look that up and will give him the form. we sign off on it and they bring it home. And then you sign it,
I
you
did
get
fill out
work.
a slip for the summer school already. I already filled out like a little application or something like that.
Okay,
Sorry.
then that's it. As long as he turns that in, then he's gonna be enrolled and you'll be notified.
All right, and I was just wondering, do we have any special tutoring for math or anything? Like, how can we still get?
We do have tutoring, and I just saw the form on the table. There's a tutoring schedule, so if you grab that as you walk in, there's one there. And I just saw it, and it changes every month, so we have the current one there at the table.
Una pregunta, aprovechando que está mezclado. A usted dijo cuando se seleccionan las siguientes schedules, ¿por qué no invitar a los padres en lugar de escribir una nota atrás? ¿Por qué no invitar a los padres a venir con consejeros, revisar las?
Okay, so the question was, why not invite the parents? So as you guys know, we meet with the students during this pre-reg process, and they trickle in through their classes, and we pick we pick the classes with them, and we send the yellow copy home for you to sign to inform you. The question is, why don't we invite parents to take part in that process? It would just be too much. It would just be too much. When you have a school of 2,700 students, to be quite frank, that would just be too much. So we try to do what we can, and we do our best to keep you guys in the loop of everything that we're doing. That's why we send the yellow copy home. I totally get it. Parents want to be involved, and I appreciate that, and that's great. But it would just be too much to have every student walk in with their parents to be part of that process. It just wouldn't be logistically possible, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So as much as we would like to involve every single parent in that pre-reg process, in that way, like in person there with the student, we don't have the space in our facility, and we don't have the time to do that. So it's more of a logistical thing that we wouldn't be able to do that.
Because you bring in students as a class, right?
Yes, because we bring students in as a class, so they come in, so as it is, as, oh,
Me refiero a si, por ejemplo, el estudiante no está conforme con una clase que pusieron. No para venir y escoger el estudiante.
Oh.
Si no está conforme, o sea, porque no, si se puede, el padre.
okay, so if the student is not happy maybe with a class that he chose, and maybe he changes his mind, can the parent come in with the student? Yes, the parent can come in with the student, and that happens all the time. So you're welcome to come in with your student. If there's something on the pre-reg form that maybe you didn't agree with, and sometimes there's disagreements with the student and the parent, a student chose it. I think that's kind of maybe what you were alluding to, maybe. Students maybe will pick a class, but the parents maybe wanted the student to challenge himself a little more. I've had parents come in with the student, they make an appointment, they come in, we sit down and we talk, and the parent expresses why she feels that the student should take a higher level course, and why the student feels he doesn't want to challenge himself. And we talk about that, and we come to a conclusion. So to answer the question, yes, a parent is always welcome to come in those situations, and we'll talk about that. And actually, they do it all the time.
Por ejemplo, en una ocasión yo vi las clases con mi hijo en la electiva y escogió en primer lugar de electiva porque les interesó.
Sí.
Escogió AP Spanish, las cuales las que él quiere agarrar.
Sí.
Número 1. Pero si le dan a mi hijo la 2 o la 3, yo voy a venir.
Okay.
Porque es la que él quiere y no va a perder su año agarrando otras.
Okay, so the students get to pick, they get to pick a 1, 2, and 3 option in that order. So we always try to give them their first choice, right? But then we have them pick 2 more, which are the alternates. If for some reason we cannot place the students in that class, again, we are a school of 2,700 students. Sometimes it just can't happen. That's what the other classes are for. We have them do an alternative one that will put them in if we can't pick the first one. So yes, if there's any issues with the pre-reg form that is brought home, something you don't agree with, something that you're just not comfortable with, please come in and talk to us, and we'll straighten that out.
When should we receive the form? By when?
We already got it, I'm sorry. This is, he works at Nathan, and
Okay.
so we did get it.
Okay.
That was my question though, because she came in with, I guess everything was chosen, I just had to sign.
Yes.
And that's where I went, well, you know, why are you choosing this, or why aren't you getting it? Because she's a straight A student, so I'm like, why aren't you getting more AP classes? And she said, well, I don't know, this is what they told me. And so I personally agree with what you had thought earlier, the question that I should come in with her. I like to be involved in my students' classes, and I have the experience. I've been in high school, I've been in college, so I know what she should take. But then sometimes she comes in with a different view, and then I usually tell her, I kind of know what to tell you because I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
But she always said, well, this is what my counselor said. And last year I had that homework. I didn't like the class she got, and then by the time I came in, they were like, oh, you have to wait for the first 2 weeks to pass. By then, I didn't want her to miss 2 weeks out of a class to change her. So it was kind of like, I should have known this ahead of time, so I would have scheduled a meeting with the counselor prior to, the beginning of the school year.
So as soon as you get the yellow forms, because we're doing that now, so it's still kind of early in the game. As soon as you get the yellow forms, come in and talk to a counselor. Come in and make an appointment, and we'll see what we can do. If it gets a little later in the year, then we do tell students and we do tell parents, you're going to have to wait till the beginning of the school year, because then there's a designated time where we make those changes. And again, everything goes back. Every system we have in place, everything that we do boils down to the fact that we're a big school. We're running a huge operation here. We have a big school, so everything boils down to logistics. How are we going to do things in order to not create like a mess, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But the faster we take care of things, I've already had a few students, and we're not even finished with the pre-reg process, but I want to say the students that have come through me the first couple of weeks, I've already had those parents come in, and we're already having those conversations. So as soon as they bring home that yellow form, there's an issue. If you can't make it, call us. I've had phone calls, I've had people come in, call us, and we'll see what we can do, and we'll fix that. Okay? Yes, sir. It's you know what, it's best you meet with your child's counselor. It's always best you meet with your child's counselor. That's why if they're not in on that certain day, just go ahead and make an appointment that way, because your child's counselor is the one that has their pre-reg form. They're the ones that are looking at the classes that they've taken, transcript, and they'll make the best decision for your counselor. But you know what, if it's an emergency, we always say, if it's an emergency, you want to speak to a counselor, and your child's counselor is not there, then you can speak to any of us, and we can answer any question that you have. Yes? How much time do I have, Ms. Garrett? I'm sorry.
Like -5 minutes.
Okay, so this is the last question right here. Yes? Okay, I'm sorry.
Los estudiantes que vienen del amigo a hacer el 9, el consejero que les va a tocar desde el 9, ¿los va a seguir hasta el 12 o...?
Good question. So the question is, so the counselor my child may get in the 9th grade, is that the same counselor that they're going to have through their senior year? In some cases, yes, and in some cases, no. It just depends. At the beginning of every year, because we have a caseload by number, so we're allotted a certain amount of students as a counselor. So at the beginning of every year, we reshuffle a little if we have to, because we have to recalculate the numbers, and we have to divide those numbers per the counselors that we have. So sometimes it'll change on the end. So I start with Hernandez and I end with Martinez. But I want to say that last year I didn't start with Hernandez. I think I started with whoever James. I think I started with the Jimenezes. So sometimes the front of our alphabets or the back of our alphabets may switch a little. And if you fall in the middle, it kind of doesn't matter, because you kind of stay with the same counselor. So to answer your question, they do change a little. Okay. Okay, that's my time. I'm sorry, I went way over my time. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's okay, those were all really good questions, and I'm glad Mr. Garcia was able to answer those questions for you. And again, we like to continue having a counselor guest at Coffee with the Principal, because I know a lot of the questions you have are things that they work with your students. One of the additional things that counselors do that he didn't talk about, I know we've talked about it in the past, But in addition to everything he explained that they're doing right now with registration, grades, enrolling for summer school, is they also provide a lot of emotional support. So as you're aware, because I did send a phone call home to parents earlier this week, we did unfortunately lose one of our teachers, one of our staff members, Ms. Charles. That's why today we're also dedicating, if you can see the poster in the back, today's Laura Charles Day, because she was an English teacher. So we want to dedicate the Read Across America and all of the activities we're doing today to Ms. Charles, because she was a great part of this community. She started working at this school in 1971. She started working here before I was born. I mean, that's how long she was working here, and it was part of her heart and to dedicate her life to students. So as you can imagine, a lot of the students, if not all of the students who had her as a teacher either this year or in the past, they were very heartbroken. So earlier this week, especially Monday, Tuesday, we had a lot of students in the counseling center, and the counselors were going to those classes where she had a substitute teacher. And I was joining them, and I saw how much emotional support our students needed, and our counselors were able to provide that for them, which was great. They guided them through the greeting process, guided them through the emotions they were feeling, and helping them understand that it's okay to cry, and it's okay not to cry. You don't have to do it because someone else is doing it. Everyone's different, everyone grieves a loved one differently. And what we also noticed is that for a lot of students, that it wasn't just Ms. Charles passing away, but if they had a loved one, a family member, or a close friend who passed away recently, it brought up those emotions again. So the counselors were there to support them through that process, and they're still doing it. And we told students there's not a time limit. Like, okay, the week is over, you're done. We know it's going to come up again throughout the year, and it may surprise them, and we told them it's okay. So again, the counselors have been working with them all week, which is why it pushed registration out a little bit. So right now they're working extra hard to catch up with registration, because we have to first work with what's there in front of us, and if our students are emotionally distraught or hurt, feeling sad, we want to take care of them right then and there, and not tell them, sorry, we're in the middle of registration, we can't work with you. That always takes priority, the emotional support and the safety of our students. So they've been working with that too. So at this time, are there any general questions? Well, one of the things I want to remind you of that we'll go into before we go into general questions is we do have Read Across America today, so that's taking place in the library and here in the theater, and you're all welcome to participate as part of that, just to observe. At 10 o'clock, I have to run to the library, or before that, because I have to start at 10 o'clock, and I'm going to be reading a book to the students who come in. Parents are welcome. We also have, like I said, an author and an illustrator of a book or several books that are coming in later today here in the theater, and you're all welcome to that as well. So with that, are there any general questions? If you have specific questions about your children, I will be here, Ms. Martinez, Ms. Tanner. We can answer those specific questions, but are there any general questions about the school? Yes. So the comment is happy that the school is different and that we have a lot of teachers that help the students, and it's an overall positive atmosphere. So that's always good to hear. Here and then there. Yes.
Sorry, I forgot. What is the day that was with you? The 8th or the 7th? I forgot.
That we do the what?
The walking.
Oh, the healthy walk?
The walkers.
Oh, the parent learning walk?
Yes.
Oh, the parent learning walk?
On Saturday.
Yeah, we changed it to April 12th. So it was going to be next week, but we had to make a change because unfortunately it was also scheduled on the same day as a workshop, a parent workshop, and we wanted to make sure that parents didn't feel like they had to do one or the other. So instead, the parent workshop is still on for the same day because I believe it was March 7th. We were going to originally do the parent learning walk. So the parent learning walk, and if you're interested in participating in the parent learning walk, you would see Alma Martinez to sign up, and that's going to be on April 12th, so after spring break. And it starts at 8:30. We do ask that everyone's here by 8:30, but you do need to sign up with her because we can only have a certain number. We also have administrators that participate, and we break everyone up into small teams because we also can't have 10 people walking into a classroom at the same time. So we make sure that we have 4 or 5 teams that go visit classrooms. You had a question, and then over there. Oh, so registration or signups for next school year, that's already started. So the counselors have already gone to National City Middle and Granger for the 9th and 10th graders that are going to come in for next year. They already did that. And right now they're also registering the students' classes for next year. But as far as clearing residency, so because you have to do that every year. So even if you've been here since 9th, 10th, 11th grade and your student's going to be a senior next year, you still have to register your student and you have to bring proof of residency. That's going to take place after spring break, and I don't have the exact date, but we are going to start that after spring break, and we will send a phone call, email, and text home for that. But start thinking about that, because that's something sometimes parents, and I understand why. You figure, I live in the same place, nothing has changed, same address, same phone number, same everything. But the district and the state do require that every parent bring in a proof of residency to demonstrate that you live in the National City area. And once we have that proof of residency, then your student is registered for next year. So good question. And then you had a question?
I just had a comment. I just thought it was, sometimes I get the phone calls for the meetings, and then I've noticed that some of them you guys don't send messages or emails on them. And I, as a parent, started trying to get that reminder. Because sometimes you guys do let us know like a month away, or there's this. But then once that day comes, you have other things that you forget. Like I know there was a parent workshop on, and I don't think there was any phone calls for that. And we know because we followed that person on Facebook. Otherwise, we wouldn't have shown up. So
Okay.
my comment is, I think it's like having a good crowd of parents here, but if you guys don't let us know, it's hard for us to be checking the website. Because I know the website is usually good with having those things on there, but sometimes I forget to check the website. And unless I remember specifically, I think there was something, then I go check for the time, and I usually find it there. But those phone calls and those emails, as a parent, they're really important for me.
Okay, so the comment was in making sure that we send reminders regarding parent meetings and parent workshops. So a lot of times we will send a message, the comment was that we'll send a message home way in advance, like 3 to 4 weeks, hey, this parent workshop or meeting is coming up. But then as we get close to it, there's not a reminder or something that, again, reminds parents that we're having that meeting or workshop. So we'll make sure we make a note of that.
That one he said, the counselor said there was one, I had no idea. And I know there was like a couple during the week, but I wish I would have known about that one. So
Right.
I've been here, but
Okay, so we'll make sure that we send the message to all parents, all families when we have parent workshops or meetings coming up. So we'll do that.
The best way is to check your tutoring grades, because we also want to balance out the number of phone calls that we make. Because in 1 week, we could have like 4 or 5 things happening for parents. If we do a phone call for each thing, then some parents get upset that we're calling too much.
Well, the email works fine for me. I mean, it doesn't bother me if I want to open it or not, I open it. But for me, it's really important. And I honestly, as a parent, I'll tell you that coming to these meetings has made me a better parent. And if it makes me a better parent, it makes my daughter a better student. And if you guys can have 100 more students, why not send that extra phone call?
Absolutely.
For me, that's my case.
Okay, so we'll discuss on the communication that we send out to parents on phone calls and or emails to let you know about all the upcoming workshops and parent
Or
activities.
an email that says this week, these are the workshops we have, or for the parents to be involved. Because I think it's
Right.
part of the student. If the
What I
parents-
believe we also added to the week at a glance that Mr. Salazar, so Mr. Salazar, who's our ASB dean, he puts out the week at a glance that not only lists the activities that we have for students throughout the week, throughout the school day and at night.
Yeah, I've seen that one. It's a little confusing because a lot of them might not participate in them. But as a parent, I think it's
Okay.
one specific for the parents. These are things you guys can show up to.
Okay.
That's my.
Okay. Yes.
I alone got 6 calls yesterday. It was getting quite annoying.
You got 6 phone calls yesterday?
From the school, yes.
Okay.
And it was just so many calls, back to back. I was like, dude, you already call me for the same purpose. Like, I've already confirmed you, if you this call already, why didn't you call me kind of thing? It's an
Okay.
automated service, so I know they have no control of how many times it comes out. Well, it says your name, because I got it in school. So it's the school, some people
Okay.
use school numbers, because it's your name that pops up first.
It's Infinite Campus, and it's calling for what purpose?
Reminders about all the meetings. Copy of the principal.
Oh, okay.
Minimum day, this and that.
Oh, right. I know. So often we do sometimes what we call the perfect storm, where we have multiple things going on that week or that Friday. So like coffee with the principal, it's also a minimum day today. So we do send out that reminder home because what was happening when we weren't sending out that reminder, many parents, hundreds of parents were calling that Friday asking, is today a minimum day? And so the secretaries, that's every time they were picking up the phone and they weren't able to help the people that were standing in front of them. So they're the ones that asked us, can you send out a reminder to parents every time we have a minimum day? That way at least most of them will remember and know and they won't be calling that Friday. So yeah, I call it the perfect storm when all these phone calls go out at once, and I can understand where it's annoying. But overall, you know, I think on my take is I'd rather over communicate than not communicate enough. And because I think it would be, on my end, if I were in your shoes, I would be more upset about not receiving a communication as opposed to being annoyed. Now, I've been in your shoes too, where I get the same phone call about the same thing.
Because it's like, it goes down the line. So I get the phone call, and then I confirmed it. Then also my husband's phone goes off, and now he's got the phone call, and now he's confirmed it. Then my son's phone goes off, and he gets the call. And I'm like, dude.
Yes, because all the phone numbers we have in Infinite Campus when you register, which we love, do not just only put one phone number, because in case of an emergency, when we only have one phone number, and we can't get a hold of that person, and we have no other numbers, it has become a problem. So we like when you include as many numbers as possible for family members in case of an emergency, but unfortunately, that is the consequence. It will be annoying when each family member gets the same call. Yes, so I'll start doing the raffle, and again, if any of you want to stay, because I want to be respectful of your time, it doesn't mean I'm not going to answer your questions, but let me do the raffle, and that way anyone who has to leave right now, you can leave, and then anyone who wishes to stay, we can still answer some of your questions. So the winner of our gift card of
Well, it says your name, because I got it in school. So it's the school, some people
Okay.
use school numbers, because it's your name that pops up first.
It's Infinite Campus, and it's calling for what purpose?
Reminders about all the meetings. Copy of the principal.
Oh, okay.
Minimum day, this and that.
Oh, right. I know. So often we do sometimes what we call the perfect storm, where we have multiple things going on that week or that Friday. So like coffee with the principal, it's also a minimum day today. So we do send out that reminder home because what was happening when we weren't sending out that reminder, many parents, hundreds of parents were calling that Friday asking, is today a minimum day? And so the secretaries, that's every time they were picking up the phone and they weren't able to help the people that were standing in front of them. So they're the ones that asked us, can you send out a reminder to parents every time we have a minimum day? That way at least most of them will remember and know and they won't be calling that Friday. So yeah, I call it the perfect storm when all these phone calls go out at once, and I can understand where it's annoying. But overall, you know, I think on my take is I'd rather over communicate than not communicate enough. And because I think it would be, on my end, if I were in your shoes, I would be more upset about not receiving a communication as opposed to being annoyed. Now, I've been in your shoes too, where I get the same phone call about the same thing.
Because it's like, it goes down the line. So I get the phone call, and then I confirmed it. Then also my husband's phone goes off, and now he's got the phone call, and now he's confirmed it. Then my son's phone goes off, and he gets the call. And I'm like, dude.
Yes, because all the phone numbers we have in Infinite Campus when you register, which we love, do not just only put one phone number, because in case of an emergency, when we only have one phone number, and we can't get a hold of that person, and we have no other numbers, it has become a problem. So we like when you include as many numbers as possible for family members in case of an emergency, but unfortunately, that is the consequence. It will be annoying when each family member gets the same call. Yes, so I'll start doing the raffle, and again, if any of you want to stay, because I want to be respectful of your time, it doesn't mean I'm not going to answer your questions, but let me do the raffle, and that way anyone who has to leave right now, you can leave, and then anyone who wishes to stay, we can still answer some of your questions. So the winner of our gift card of